Love and death were the great themes and constantly intertwined. George Sand came here with Alfred de Musset. Upon arrival, he told her, "George, I do not love you." So she wrote a novel. George Eliot came here with her young husband. On their first night together, he flung himself out of the bedroom and into the Grand Canal.
All in all, Venice is not a lucky city for women in love called George.
Happily, there were a number of non-practicing romantics who stayed out of canals. This palace was bought and restored by an American family in the 1880s. Here, the greatest of American novelists, Henry James, used to come and stay. It is nice to think of him at my age and weight, struggling up these lopsided stairs. The rooms are still pretty much the way they were when James lived here, and Browning gave readings in this room, and John Singer Sargent and Monet painted. The furnishings of these rooms were assembled by the American owners only a century ago. Within the shell of an ancient palace, they acted out their own dream of Venice with considerable tact. James used this palace as a setting for the wings of a dove. "I have this vast, cool upper floor," he wrote, "all Scirocco draughts and easy undressedness quite to myself. These ever adorable, never more so, marble halls."
At this desk, Henry James wrote the Aspern papers. I must say I was rather dubious when the owner of the palace told me this. And she said, "Why?" And I said, "Well, I don't think there's a writer who was ever born, with the possible exception of Ernest Hemingway, who could write with a mirror in front of him and his own face reflected." And she laughed and she said, "Well, actually James didn't." And she showed me a photograph of the way the desk looked when he was here. And as you will see, he wisely removed the mirror.
Until this century, the gondola was the preferred way of getting about the canals of Venice. Though there are now fewer gondolas and gondoliers than there were in Henry James's day, they still attract tourists who enjoy the way that the gondoliers throw themselves, in James's words, over the tremendous oar. It has the boldness of a bird and the regularity of a pendulum. Other visitors in the past found the gondola somewhat too creepily reminiscent of a coffin. But the poet Clough was thrilled. He wrote, "How light we move, how swift we are, were life but as the gondola." To which one might add, if life were like the gondola today, life would be far too expensive to live.
See, Andre, if you did this all right.
On the other hand, the beauty of the gondoliers' voices raised in song is perhaps beyond price. The gondoliers are true Venetians. This means that the object of their enterprise is to separate as gracefully and originally as possible the tourist from his money, within the law, of course. Venice Incorporated is still very much in business. The tourists arrive in their hundreds of thousands from all over the world. In fact, it seems to be an eternal law of tourism that the smaller the place, the greater the crowd.
I have to buy the salad.
So you'd already passed the big car park then?
Yes.
There's a double decker one set somewhere. Some people now capture there's a huge
straw hat. That would be different.
And Venice caters for the tourist at every level. There is a gambling casino, there is an annual film festival, and every 2 years there's an exhibition of art, to which the artists of each country contribute their most glorious artifacts. Here we can ponder some of the finest works of the après postmodernist movement.
Well, I mean, I've got a flat in the Hampstead, but I'm now sort of basically moving down to Pulborough.
nice, yes.
You know Pulborough,
Well,
yeah?
I got a flat in Brighton, go down how you have it at weekends. But I mean, I do know used to know some very nice people who live in Pulborough.
As we can see, painting and sculpture have developed enormously since the days of Carpaccio and Veronese and Giorgione. Although Venetians have always preferred mastery to novelty in the arts, they are willing to settle for a supermarket if they have to. But then they are traditionally tolerant.
I must say, in all of my many years of attending the Biennale, that this is probably the most beautiful work of art that I have seen here. As it is, it's exquisitely made of sand with violent and even tragic colors of the sort that, well, I must say, I haven't been this moved since the famous rocks from the Tate Gallery were entered here one by one several years ago at that significant Biennale.
For centuries, the Doge from his gilded barge would drop a wedding ring into the sea to celebrate the marriage between the sea and the most serene republic. This scene is still enacted once a year for the tourist. But now, of course, there is no Doge, no ring, no marriage. The sea no longer wedded, no longer domesticated, now reclaims its right to the whole lagoon.